I have a quick update for you all on Virginia's budget and data center fight. This is not the same video I already did because I already talked about the bigger data center tax break. But now we have the budget language that's finally out. And with that, it tells a lot. And one part tells us a whole lot. As you know, Virginia created a new electricity tax on data centers. The tax is expected to bring in about 600 million a year for the state, but the budget caps what the public can keep. If the tax brings in more than 600 million, the extra money can go back to the data center companies. Now, sit right there with that one real quick for me. If the tax brings in more than 600 million, the extra money can go back to the data center companies. They knew how to write a cap. They knew how to write a refund. They knew how to protect the companies in the budget law. They just did not write that protection for us. And that's the part that irks me the most, because the bigger data centers tax break, it didn't go away. Axios reported, as we talked about, that data center sales tax break saved about 1.6 to 1.9 billion in 1 year. This new electricity tax that they're proposing brings back 600 million a year. So even after that, we could still be looking at around $1 billion to $1.3 billion in tax breaks still left on the table for the industry. That is the part that we cannot skip. But that's also the part that rubs me the wrong way so much. Because some people may say, well, but the budget taxes data centers now. Yes, but how much? And compared to what? Because if the tax break is around 1.6 to 1.9 billion dollars and the state gets 600 million back, that still leaves a $1 billion plus tax break. That is not full accountability. That is a partial step. But this is what they call the compromise. That partial step. And that partial step comes with a cap that keeps the state from collecting too much from the companies. That also bothers the heck out of me. Not because I do not understand it. As you all know, I understand it. I understand it clearly. And that's why it bothers me so much. Because when it's time to protect a data center company operators, the language was there. They made sure to put that language in there for them. But when the old tax break grew far beyond the old estimate, where was the protection for us? Where was the cap for the taxpayers? Where was the automatic review? These are all simple questions. Where was the rule that said, if this gets too big, Virginia has to explain it? You see, this is what I mean when I say they know how to write guardrails. They just did not write them for us citizens. Now, looking at it holistically, because I read all 602 pages last night, I did a lot of skimming and a lot of reading. This budget has a lot of good in it. Teacher pay is here. Special education is in there. School breakfasts is in there. Housing money is in there. Healthcare reserves is in there. They're all there. Food support is in there. Water and noise rules for data centers are in there. And those things all matter. So I'm not here acting like that whole budget is bad. That is not it. But the good parts don't erase the fine print. And if we don't read the fine print, we still live under it. I'm going to take a little minute to let you understand that. But here is my plain read on it, though, because I just got to give y'all my plain read, and then we're going to get out of here. The budget does three things on data centers. It creates a new electricity tax, which is $600 million we talked about. Second, it sends bigger sales tax break to another study. So they're going to study it. And to anybody who doesn't like government, I know how you feel about that, but it does. It sends it to another study. And third, it adds some water and noise rules. That is not nothing. That is not the finish line either. The bigger tax break is still sitting there, punching us in our craw. And even with this new $600 million tax, the industry may still have $1 billion+ tax break left on the table. So no, I am not calling this a full win. I am calling this a limit to the step. A step that proves the state can act when it chooses to. This does not prove the government cannot write protection into law. It proves government can definitely write protection into law when it wants to, for who it wants to. And that leaves the question is always, who gets protected? When companies needed a cap, they got one. When companies needed a refund path, they got one. When the public needed protection from a tax break growing into $1 billion, we get a study. We'll come back to y'all now. You can't really make it up, honestly. You can't make this up. This is nowhere close to good enough. A study can be useful, but a study cannot become a waiting room where hard questions go to disappear, which that's how they use studies. And when I say they, I mean government entities use studies for all the time. Just a waiting room to disappear. And we already know the basic questions. If the tax break grew far beyond what people expected, why does it still get to run without a stronger cap, a stronger sunset, or a stronger public reset? Why are there not refunds in it for us past matter of fact, it only had to be 100 million, past 200, 300 million. Why were there not resets there? That is the question. And we should not let budget language hide it. For Hampton and for the Commonwealth of Virginia, this matters. State budget choices do not stay in Richmond. They come on back to us. They show up in our schools. They show up in our housing. They show up in our health care. They definitely show up in our water. They show up in our power planning. All of these things are true. That is why public clarity matters. That is why you all hear me saying that so many times. Because you should not need to read a 602 pages to know who got protected, which we found out at the beginning of this video. But you should not need to be a lobbyist to know where the money is moving. You deserve the plain version, and I'm giving you the plain version. And so to round this up and sum this up about this budget that we have, now hold on, let me be specific. There's still amendment times and different times. So it's going back between the House Senate before it gets sent to the governor. But the plain version of this is this budget has good in it. The data center deal is a step, but even after the new electricity tax, the industry may still be receiving $1 billion+ tax break. And the strongest guardrail in this new language appears to protect how much the public can keep. That is why I am not done asking questions. They knew how to write guardrails. They just did not write them for me and you, for us, the taxpaying citizens. So if you want more plain English updates, budget updates with receipts, because you know how I love bringing receipts, follow this page, like, follow, subscribe, interact. Please let me know how you feel about it. I respond to comments as much as possible. If you also make sure you go to the webpage, AaronCweaver.com. I am running for Hampton City Council in Hampton, Virginia, and there's a lot of good information there, and it can give you leadways and paths. But as always, if this helped you understand, it kept it plain and simple. We're going to always be resident first, growth with purpose, and public clarity. I thank you for getting this far, taking the time, and watching the video. Have a good one.